Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division Dash, I suppose, FAI Cup show. Delighted to welcome Sean Lean onto the show. Sean, how are you?
Not too bad, Keith. Not too bad. Finally got a win, so
Yeah.
we're doing better than usual.
Speaking of which, we'll get into that one first. Waterford obviously beat Dundalk with 2 goals to 1. Bellis on 5, Ammon on 16, Gullen on 76. And before we get into the game, we'll just talk a little bit about Dundalk in terms of just a quick
Mm.
little update. And it looks like there's going to be no liquidation as it stands, which is good news. It looks like in the next few days, I think there'll be something organised that they can get at least till the end of the season, basically. So there'll be maybe funds coming into the club that can tie them till the end of the season. Now, some people might say that's kicking the can down the road a little bit, but they've no choice. I mean, this would be a good result ultimately, wouldn't it? It would also mean no messing with the league table. Which I don't like the idea of anyway, because it's just a bad look for the league, also, isn't it? Like, changing points and stuff like that at this stage of the season. But all in all, it's decent news for Dundalk, and if they can just get to the end of the season, Sean, and then see what they can do, I think that's the main thing for now. It's the best they can hope for, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best thing they can hope for. If the alternative is liquidation, anything is really better than that. There's been news recent that's been dropped today, actually, that they might have someone come in and take them over. If that does happen, that's probably the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I suppose if we want to get into the game,
You were there actually, weren't you
I
yourself?
was
Actually,
there,
at the game, yeah.
and I mean, there were some encouraging things there, from a football perspective. First of all, Dundalk brought down a very good crowd, which was very good to see, especially since the club, since the club is in such dire straits. And the players on the field for Dundalk, you can't fault their effort. I wouldn't blame them, to be honest, because their livelihoods are at stake here, and there's a risk that they won't be paid. Um, they won't be paid again. They already have missed a week's wages that then got released to them.
Hmm.
But there's no faulting their effort. They're really out there. They're playing for the club. They're really giving a huge effort. So look, it's a dark time for Dundalk, but you can't fault the fans. You can't fault the players at this particular time.
No, 100%. From Waterford's point of view, that was a brilliant start to the game. Bellis and Hammond obviously putting them two goals up and setting
Mm.
them on their way, I suppose. And from their point of view, they just needed any kind of a win. The first goal Bellis scored, he does well. This is bad defending by Dundalk, though, I have to say. It's
Yeah.
it's a long ball forward, and Hammond
Mm.
puts the defender under pressure. Fair enough. Bellis does well to get round and reads it well, but even a strike at the near post, there's not an awful lot of
Mm.
power in it. He almost passes it in, and you're kind of looking at
Yeah.
Ross Monroe there, and you're kind of going, "How are you letting in a shot that isn't that? There's not much power in it." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In at the near post, and it gives them an awful start. They've serious problems with their goalkeeper, Dundalk, no matter who they play, seemingly.
Yeah.
But then Ammon scores again in 16, and of course that's his 12th of the season. An interesting battle with him, Hooven and Kenny, I have to say,
Mm.
at the top of the goal
Yeah.
scoring charts, all level of 12 goals. But
Mm.
from Waterford's point of view, Gullen scored late on. There was a bit of pandemonium, I suppose, in terms of Dundalk putting them under pressure. Waterford maybe struggling a little bit to see it out, or they didn't seem to play as well in the second half as it is in the first half. And of course, there was another, you'd have to say, bad decision given against Dundalk, wasn't there? I think
Mm.
it was, who takes the shot in the end, Sean? I can't remember the top of my head, but
I think it was Ryan O'Kane took the shot.
was it Ryan O'Kane? I can't take it top of my head because I've seen it a few days ago, but was it Grant Horton who handled it?
Grant Horton handled it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Grant Horton. Obviously, he puts his hand out to save it essentially, and
Mm.
again, like the week before, really, I'm not sure how a penalty wasn't given there. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I think it was 2-0 at the time, wasn't it?
It was yeah, it was 2-0 at the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that would have made it 2-1, and at that stage, you're wondering. I don't think, to be fair to Grant Horton, it's deliberate, but I can't remember what the rule is. I think that the referee may have been within his rights to send him off if he gives a penalty there,
Mm.
because he could say the shot is going towards goal or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, Dundalk were rightly incensed with that decision. Really, really, and I can see why, because when they scored the goal to make it 2-1, we were really under pressure
Mm.
and playing on the back foot for the rest of the game. For the last 15 minutes, were very nervy. I'd say again that the problems that Dundalk had in previous weeks are the same problems that they had again on Friday. That I mean, they had a very good chance very early on in the game where I think O'Kane squared it to Owen Kenny, and I don't know how he doesn't score.
I think that was
I think,
actually Horgan coming in, but I know that, yeah, you're dead right. He should get
yeah,
onto that.
but yeah, he really should. I mean, I was mystified that, and I think the score was 1-0 at that stage. So
Yeah,
you're talking about the score being level.
yeah,
Um, from our perspective, I thought what worked was having an actual striker up front with Pa Jamin, because the way we play with the 3-5-2, there's two up top. We typically played like Connor Parsons or Christy Patterson up front with Amond, who both of those are wingers, and they tend to go out wide. They kind of leave Amond a bit isolated up front by himself. But Sam Bellis is a striker,
yeah,
and he played. I mean, he played off
yeah.
Podge for the first goal, and I thought he was very good all game. It was really encouraging to see that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it wasn't a. I thought we could have been a bit more aggressive because, especially when it was 2-0 after 16 minutes, I thought we really, could have put Dundalk to the sword and tried to run up a score. But I thought we took our foot off a bit, um, and weren't as aggressive as I would have liked us to be. But yeah, it's massive 3 points at this stage in the season. You're talking about there's 6 games left in the season.
Mm.
Results matter in the race for Europe, and we haven't been getting results in recent weeks. So I really can't complain too much, even if it wasn't a stellar performance, but it was workmanlike, and we got the result. Again, cannot overstate how important that is for us.
Yeah, and as we speak at this particular moment in time, Waterford are up to third. But by the time a lot of people see this video, that could well have changed, perhaps, because
It
in
will
fact,
definitely change,
it
regardless of the
definitely
result.
will because of the goal
Yeah,
difference. Yeah.
yeah,
So Shamrock Rovers and Galway say draw. You know what I mean? It's going to put a
yeah,
situation where um, both clubs actually could be ahead of Waterford looking at the table.
yeah.
That's the funny thing about it. Like, but it just
Mm,
shows how tight it is as well. And obviously, that's a big game. And as I said, most people who
mm,
watch this video will know the result. That by the time it comes out, of a sense for Shamrock Rovers, by the way.
mm,
But on to Shamrock Rovers, who beat Sligo Rovers by 4 goals to 0 at
mm,
Tallaght Stadium. Massive, massive win. And the first time that Shamrock Rovers recently have, and I feel we're going to win this match because first time they've had a bit of a break where they can kind of maybe, look after players and, you know what I mean, really prepare
mm.
for this game. And I do think it showed. I mentioned Johnny Kenny previously there. He got 2 goals. He's now in 12 goals along with Paul Hammond and Pat Hooban. And he took his goals well in the game. He
Mm,
also missed a 1-on-1 where McGinty does well as well, I have to say. I think McGinty, arguably for me, is the best 1-on-1 keeper in the league. He seems to spread
mm,
himself better than any other goalkeeper. But Kenny finally got him 43 when he made it 2
yeah,
0. Sean Horgan getting 2 goals in the second half. And there was obviously a sending off. A couple of things here. There was a sending off in the second half before we get on to the other situation with Liam Poles, where
yeah,
Henry does get sent off for second bookable offence. I
yeah.
think I think that one's a little harsh. I think it's a free kick. But
Mm,
do you feel like I'm looking at that and going, does the referee, you see sometimes the referee's no
yeah,
choice but to give the yellow or the
mm,
red. I
yeah.
think there's a bit of leeway where he doesn't have to give the yellow there, in my view. What did you think of that one?
Yeah, I don't think he does because, like, his studs are down, and
Mm,
the contact is minimal,
mm.
really, and
It's a
I
foul, fair
mean,
enough. I've no issue with that, but
yeah, I mean,
especially the
look,
cop
it's a
on of
free, like,
he's already in the
the
yellow. Does this warrant a second yellow to put him off the field?
no,
I would
no,
say no.
I don't think it even if he wasn't booked, I don't think it would warrant the first yellow. Like, I think it's very, very harsh decision in my view.
Mm. It is, and
Mm,
at that point it was 2-0, and
yeah,
there's definitely no way back for Sligo Rovers. Let's say Shamrock Rovers are playing very
mm,
well at this point. Into the
yeah,
first half where Liam Pauls comes out and makes a mess of the situation. He
yeah,
does get a yellow, and I've seen the argument for a red here, but to be honest with you, I do think that's the right decision because there's 3 Shamrock Rovers
mm,
players behind, and I
mm,
know some people are arguing, but they weren't on the line. But one of them was in close
mm,
proximity, so for me, Power would have
yeah,
had to probably beat him, and by
mm,
that point, maybe 2 Shamrock Rovers players
yeah,
would have been on the line. It's frustrating from a Sligo Rovers point of view, but I do think the yellow, in my personal opinion, I do think the yellow is
mm,
probably the right decision in that situation. But Poles
yeah.
caused a lot of problems for himself there, I have to say again.
Mm. He does, yeah. I mean, I suppose the only thing you'd say is that if you're going off the Jack Henry Francis decision, that probably is a red card. If you're going to judge him equally,
Mm,
I think Power would have scored.
mm,
Um, Personally, I think looking at the positioning of the Rovers defenders, I think he probably would have buried it.
mm.
And at that stage, look, it is a different game.
I think it's 2-0 at
Uh,
that point, is it?
it's 2-0 at that stage, I
Isn't
think.
it? Yeah, yeah.
And you're talking about 2-1. All 2-0 is the most vulnerable scoreline in
Mm.
football because you get to 2-1 then, and all of a sudden the nerves
Just ask
creep in.
Everton at the moment about that.
And some teams is really there's some teams especially who really can't deal with that. But yeah, really important. I think to be fair, even with the decisions, Rovers probably were that much better than
Mm,
Sligo on the night.
It just mightn't have
They're
been
really,
4-0, but yeah,
yeah, maybe not 4-0,
yeah,
but because obviously the sending off does help that a lot. But
yeah.
I think they were very good, very very good, very sort of like the Rovers team of old. It's the kind of team I suppose you'd want to see because if I'm not mistaken, their Conference League campaign starts on Thursday.
Mm,
Don't know who they're playing. The Champions League starts this week anyway, so I would
mm.
assume that the Conference League also starts, which shows you the level of research that I do ahead of these videos. But,
You've caught me off the hop now a little bit as well because I'm thinking I think it's early October to be honest with you, Sean. But
yeah,
while you're
but
talking away, I'll
yeah,
try and confirm that.
but I was thinking about it as well because you were talking about, of course, the fact that Rovers have had a chance to rest players,
Yeah.
which is something that they're not going to have going into Europe, and as well as that, playing the games that they have to catch up on. Galway tonight, and I still think at this stage, especially with the way they're playing, that they're probably the favourites to finish third at this stage with the
Mm,
games that they have at hand, and getting a result against Sligo, who are in that conversation as well. Really, really good performance from Rovers that we haven't maybe seen earlier in the season. So I think look, Sligo can feel a little bit hard done by,
mm,
but if you're a Rovers fan, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, their first game is October 3rd against Applewell at home. So they've a couple of weeks to kind of, you know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
false alarm on my
No,
front.
but if a few weeks then to kind of get into gear a little bit and at
Yeah.
least push for that European third spot. So it'll be interesting to see how they do there. And obviously the Galway game and that will probably be over. But on to the FAI Cup, 3 games on the Friday. And first up was Athlone Town losing 4-1 at home to Drogheda United.
Mm.
James Taylor with 2 goals again. Brennan for Drogheda United and Foley Ebbe with a late penalty to make it 4-1 for Athlone. And overall, I thought Drogheda would have too much power for them, too much scoring power. And obviously, Ryan Brennan, by the way, has now played 200 games for Drogheda, by the way, and he marked that with a
Mm.
goal. But I thought they'd have too much forward power for them, and they did.
Mm.
Talked to some Drogheda people, so Pirot, even though he didn't score, was brilliant in this game. A lot of people saying he was man of the match, but um, it's a fantastic win for them. And looking at the draw, with no disrespect to Wexford FC, and we'll talk about it for a
Mm.
second, they have to fancy themselves getting to the Aviva now, Drogheda
Mm.
United.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, if you don't, like, what are you doing if you're Drogheda? And I'm actually, it's a really uh yeah, it's I mean it's a great draw for Drogheda. I don't think the one thing I'll say is, you can't take any team lightly at this
No.
stage. This could also, interesting enough, I said that in the build up to this game between Drogheda and Athlone, that this could be the playoff final, um, or that game could be the playoff final. But since beating Waterford in the round of 16, Athlone I have gone on an awful run of
Don't
games.
think
They've
they've won
lost
a
four
game.
one at home. They've lost 4-1 at home twice in the space of a week to Finharf and to Drogheda. So they've been awful.
Hmm.
And Wexford, conversely, have been really, really good.
Hmm.
The one thing I'd say about the Wexford game, they played a Treaty United side, I think, that's kind of resigned to the fact that they're going for another season in the first division. They're not making the playoffs because the effort was really appalling from Treaty United, I thought.
Hmm.
But yeah, Wexford are going very, very well. And they're going to be massive underdogs for this. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see. We've had a couple of indicators that the gap between the first division and the Premier Division is
Hmm.
pretty big. But as I said, you have to look at this game whenever it's bottom of the Premier Division, top of the First Division against each other. Look at this as a preview for what we could see in November. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. Drogheda are going to be the favourites, but I mean, if Wexford win, I'll be very it wouldn't be the stranger things have happened. Is what I'd
Mm.
say.
I think from Athlone's point of view, I think the difficulty there is as well that it's very. I think there's a big enough gap between the First Division and Premier Division teams outside of Cork City, if you like. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
can even see that in terms of the league table in the First
yeah,
Division. They're part-time teams for the most part, etc. Like
yeah,
so outside of Cork City, but I think it was always going to be hard. The Athlone etc. might be able to pull off a shock, but to be able to pull off two shocks for me, and we'll talk about them in a minute. UCD
yeah.
was always going to be unlikely. I thought from an Athlone point of view,
Yeah, yeah, I think so, but I would say like even pointed their form like you Drogheda were I mean to be honest, yeah, I think if they'd have won 4-0, it wouldn't have flattered Drogheda at all.
Mm, mm,
The first goal in particular that Athlone conceded was really it was shocking.
mm.
So I mean they haven't won in a number of games. They've been really frustrating to watch in the first division because they're so wildly inconsistent. They could go on a run of 3 games where they play
The
unbelievable
good thing about
football.
Athlone is though, if you're an Athlone fan as well, is that they're involved. There's goals in their games. Even if
Oh
they
yeah,
win or if they get hammered, there's goals in their games. You
you
very
can't
rarely
accuse
see
them.
0-0 with nothing happening in the game
No,
scenarios.
you can't accuse them of being predictable.
No,
Um, they've got a lot of characters there. I mean, the squad they have down there is. I mean, I'm trying to like figure out how many players they have. They must have 40 players upwards in that squad. Like,
like
there's an
Chelsea,
incredible amount. It is. They are Ireland's Chelsea.
a little bit, yeah, because they do have what would you call it, a an array of players from all over the world, basically, and it's interesting how they do it actually. And I have to say, Dario Costello
Mm,
has done a good job there. To be fair
yeah,
to him, like to have them even
yeah,
in the playoffs
yeah.
at the start of the season, I was unsure whether they get
Mm,
there. So.
yeah.
They obviously do get players in, and Pirot was one of them
Mm.
as well. Obviously, who's gone on to Drogheda. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? From a market that others don't get from, basically. It's certainly in the first
yeah,
division.
yeah. Of course, Piero and Patrick Hickey as well. It's just one
Yeah,
player of the month.
there you go.
Came to that long, and so it can work. It can work.
Mm. Oh, it's interesting. On to
Mm,
Wexford quickly now, and you kind of mentioned them already, but Wexford did beat Treaty United by 4 goals to 1 in the other semi final or quarter final.
mm,
Ismail with two, Thomas Alua with 2 goals as well, and Treaty scoring it in injury time through Vricek. I probably butchered that, but anyway, why wasn't it in the current? But yeah, I think you're right. Treaty as well. I think they'll be a bit disappointed. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? They would have looked at this as an opportunity to maybe like to go to Wexford and be well beaten is disappointing.
mm.
They could have got maybe a Premier Division team, for example, and you would have thought they'd be losing 4-0 or 4-1 to them. But at the same time, they're coming up against a Wexford side who are pretty much on form. They've scored more goals than anyone else in the first division, by the way, as well. And I would say they're the informed team out of the team in the playoffs in the first division, Wexford.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that, 100%. And Alua's doing very well from up front. I mean, he got 2 more goals on Friday. Uh, I thought looking at their squad at the start of the season, they were probably the second best team in the first division, but it took them a while again to get
Mm,
going.
mm,
They had a very slow start to the season.
very slow.
Um, yeah, so they had a very slow start to the season, and but they're starting to catch fire at the right time of the season. They've got experience at the back. Ethan Boyle is a great
Mm,
player to have in that team. Um, they've got a number of ex Premier players. I mean, we talk about Alua. They've Keane Corbally in that team as well, and
Dobbs.
uh, they've got Aaron Dobbs up front.
Mm.
It's a team that if you're a Wexford fan, you'd be very optimistic. It's already been a very good season for them. Uh,
They've nothing to
the
lose
coach,
going to United Park, really, in a cup semi
they've
final.
nothing to lose. They've nothing to lose, and as well as that, they actually, I mean, they've got good news that, I mean, there
Yeah,
has been proposals put forward for a new stadium. If they go up to the one reservation I have about them going up to the Premier Division at this stage is the fact that Ferry Carrick Park is not a Premier Division ground.
It's not.
If they get this new stadium, then yeah, a Wexford team. I mean, it'd be great for us because like it'd be a very short away day, and Wexford's big. There's a lot of support for soccer in Wexford. It'd be great to have a team there. So yeah, but very exciting times for Wexford FC.
Yeah, the other game on Friday night was UCD nil, Bohemians 4, and I mentioned how, Athlone picking up a shock win against Waterford. They were unlikely to do it again. UCD similarly, in my view, and they obviously beat Sligo Rovers away, but well beaten by Bows. And I kind of rotated between three games this weekend. I've seen a good chunk of this one as well, and I've seen a good chunk of
Yeah.
Shamrock over Sligo Rovers, and I've seen a decent chunk of Dundalk and Waterford. But Bows were very comfortable throughout this game. Tierney with
Yeah.
2 goals. Grief and Miller with 2 late goals.
Mm-hmm.
UCD though did hit the woodwork in fairness at 2-0, and there was a shot scrambled off the line, and they probably should have scored there. Picking up a red card, Houlihan on 60 minutes, and I know the commentators questioned it, but I thought it was a red card. I think it might have been Grief I think he was through on goal. Like he was directly through on goal. I think he's no choice there. It's a red card for me, that decision. But like Balls will be happy enough there, Tierney and Devoy have really made a serious difference to them. And you could argue they've no chance of getting Europe, and you could argue it's highly unlikely they're going to get dragged into ninth, that they can really focus on the cup. And anyone with a little niggle may not play some league games from here to then. Obviously Derry City at home be difficult, but with losing out the last couple of years, twice in 3 seasons, maybe this is the year the Balls could go all the way, Sean. Pats aren't there, so that's a good thing for them.
You're finally seeing a bit of stability with Bowes in recent weeks, so it could happen for him.
That's a good point as well. And notably, Smith has come in at right back, and I think he's solid. He's better than any of the right backs they've had before. There's none of this central midfielder stuff playing at centre back. You've got Lee Kavanagh and Cian Byrne forming a partnership. So you're right. Apart from that stability is coming into the team, isn't it? Which is crucial, really.
Yeah, the stability is absolutely it's crucial to Bows. I mean, it looked like they were going to get sucked into the relegation crisis. The next game they play actually is Drogheda, and I think that will be the last. If Drogheda don't win that game, if Drogheda don't win that game, I think you can say beyond the shadow of a doubt then that Bows have only one game that matters really, and it's the cup semi-final against Derry. The fact that they're at home in that game too, I think, is massive. The fact that they get a home crowd behind them, it's going to give them a very good chance at actually winning that game. From a Waterford perspective, I prefer they didn't, because Derry winning the cup means 4th place would get Europe, which would be beneficial for us. But I'm looking at that game coming up between Derry and Bows, and I have to say it's almost a coin toss, but I give Bows a slight edge just for the fact that they're the home team.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously going to be in a few weeks, so it's hard to predict, but be interested to see what position, say, Derry are in the league exactly by the time they meet in the cup. And I'm not saying Derry would take their eye off the ball in that game, but you might have that subconscious element of hunger coming into play, and Bows, if they've the likes of those players and they're still stable, fit, etc., I think they'd put it this way: Bows would rather play Derry City at Dalymount in the semi-final, in my opinion, than Derry City in the final at the Aviva.
Yeah, I think Derry in the final, particularly on that big pitch at the Aviva, I think back to the last cup final they were in. They really knew how to take advantage of the space that they had out there. Maybe it was down to the fact that they were playing Shelbourne as well, who that doesn't suit.
And Shelbourne were very new at the time as well. They weren't quite what they are now, or this season, let's say.
Yeah. But they did score 4 goals in that final, so they were excellent. And of course, they got a number of players in the team now with Pat Hoobin, Daniel Kelly, Michael Duffy, who have that experience. They've won. I mean, and now you talk about the whole squad has what it takes to win the cup. At least whatever about the league, they've won the cup before. This is, they've done this before. They can do it again. So it's going to be, as I said, look, it's a coin toss at the moment who's going to win. Derry very well could win this, but they won't be. They won't. It's going to be a very difficult game for them at Dalymount if they are to get through, and I think definitely more difficult than if it was at the Aviva.
100%. And finally, Derry City did beat Shelbourne by 2 goals to nil. Michael Duffy on 23 minutes and Danny Mullen on 64 minutes. And the Duffy goal on 23 was a vintage Duffy goal, I thought, wasn't it? It was him at his
Yeah.
best. It was a good play from Derry City, but he gets probably half a yard on Wilson. Now, I think Wilson's problem here is the fact that he's a left back and he's not, his right foot is nowhere near as strong as his left foot. So when he goes to turn, he doesn't really put out his right foot. It was on the other side, maybe he's a better chance where he uses his left foot. You can see that there. But Duffy probably knows that in a way, so goes to the outside of Wilson and slots it home brilliantly. And to be honest with you, Derry City fully deserved to win this game. I thought they were by far the better side in this game, and Shelbourne can have no complaints. Shelbourne will be disappointed in terms of they didn't really make it a contest on the day, and a lot of people might think going out of the cup might suit them better in the league, but they still, for me, look like a side that are running out of steam overall. I know Lunny was missing a midfield, and I think that's a loss because I don't think there's many midfielders at the club. Like Caffrey came in for Lunny, but Caffrey's more of a number 8 who can break into the box. He's not a sit beside Mark Coyle player like Lunny is, if you know what I mean. I think that's where they lack a bit of depth. Shelbourne as well, and obviously Sean Gannon missed the game as well, which was a big thing, which meant Wilson had to go the other side of the field too. But from Derry City's point of view, a very, very good performance, and they'll be confident themselves and maybe doing a double this year, Sean.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, talk about Shells for a bit, like maybe wanting to go out of the cup so they can focus on the league. I think this is a huge game for the league for all the wrong reasons for Shelbourne, because you talk about narratives and narratives that I've echoed here on the show that Derry can't beat the other teams around them. But now it flips with this result, because all the other games between Derry and Shells have been draws, and now Derry had the win. So Shells are the team now who haven't beaten Derry, and this game is going to be this could very well be the decider. And I think it probably will be the decider, because if it isn't, you're going to have to talk about Shells pulling away with the league, that they're going to win like 2 or 3 games, and Derry are going to capitulate in that time. I don't think that's going to happen. Someone, I think it was a commenter on the last show that we did, said that this Shelbourne team has echoes of Cork City in 2017 when Sean Maguire left and Stephen Dooley left, and they sort of limped over the line.
Oh, there's no doubt that they're a weaker side since the transfer window. There's no doubt about that, isn't there? Not. Some others are stronger, but they're a bit weaker.
Yeah. They're a little bit weaker. I mean, I know they signed Aidan O'Brien and he scored for him, and he's been like a decent signing for him so far. But you're asking to replace 2 very good players in Malloy and Jarvis, and it wasn't going to happen overnight. And it's very exciting stuff. You really don't know. I mean, you don't know who's. I think at this stage, Derry will fancy their chances for a double. Derry, the cup may even be a little bit more difficult for them because it'll be
it's on
very
the day,
interesting.
the cup, isn't it? You're playing Bows on the day. Anything can happen, and then if you get through, it's the final. So it's on the day stuff. Whereas the league, you have a bit more control, if you like.
You have a little bit more control. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that Derry have won the cup. They haven't won the league, but they've never been in such a strong position to win the league. So and I think the reason I say that is because I couldn't, to be honest, predict any one of Derry's remaining games except for the last one, which I think on the basis of the performance tonight and on the sort of trajectory that the two teams are on, that I think Derry probably would win that game. And as I said, I don't think Shells are going to be able to pull away enough that game won't matter. And as you said, look, Derry were. It wasn't like Shells were. It wasn't just a case of Shells being, poor, but the fact that Derry really put them to the sword. They were very, very good on the night. Fully deserved the win. It could be a massive confidence boost for that squad. I mean, if you're a Derry fan, that's what you're hoping. That confidence will transfer. And I mean, if to go however many seasons without winning the league, and then to go for a league and cup double. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad season. It'd probably save Rory Higgins' job.
Probably be Higgins for Ireland at that point, Sean. But we'll leave it there, lads. Let us know what you think in the comments back home. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and thanks for watching. Once again, thank you, Sean.
Cheers, Keith.